Hey folks, just Scoochie Dean here and Old D Money chopping it up. But guess what? We have a special episode. My high school football coach, good friend of mine, Keaton Tuttle's in the building. Keaton,
Tuttle.
how are we?
Fantastic.
Fantabulous. So with Keaton is our second guest not connected with Butler that has made it in studio. Is that right? Him and Cade?
Correct.
Cade was the first one.
Correct.
Perfect. We like having in-studio guests. Zoom's doable, but really in studio, meeting everybody in person, seeing everybody is really the cooler way to go, in my opinion. So with that, we have our song of the day. Tuttle's gonna lead us into that, where he says the lyrics pretty monotone, and we gotta guess what it is. Now, Tuttle could come with some way out in left field, folks.
Absolutely.
Okay, there it is. Just
Monotone. How much do I got to read?
Till we gets it.
you might have to read the whole song.
He's gonna have to read it 3 times through.
This is tough. All right. And in the master's chambers, they gathered for the feast.
Master of Puppets.
No. They stab it with their steely knives, but they just can't kill the beast.
What are we listening to?
This is
Is this Screamo shit?
no,
Okay.
far from it. We'll say it's from the 1970s.
Okay.
Okay. We need Bryson here.
Need more?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm lost.
Last thing I remember, I was running for the door. I had to find a passage back to the place I was before.
It's a good song so far.
Relax, said the night man. We are programmed to receive.
Is this a poem?
You can check out any time you like, but you can never leave.
Yeah, it's The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe.
No.
All right. I don't know where to get this.
That was the end of the song.
What?
Yeah.
Just read
Just like a little rift?
So that was the last part. Do you want me to go to the very beginning of the song?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right. On a dark desert highway,
Oh, Jesus. Go ahead.
cool wind in my hair.
Yeah. Okay. I know this song.
What is it?
On a dark desert highway.
That's it. That's it.
Hotel California.
That's it. Right there.
California by the Eagles. Yeah, I had no.
Dude.
I'm
Hey.
the beginning, but he
Well,
was.
that's where we went straight to the beginning. I was like, what?
And then he goes, "That's it." I go, "That's the end of the song." What is this, a rift? That was funny. No, it's not Fortnite. We're not just hitting rifts, man. Relaunch, okay? Guys, we dap in the Fortnite realm. We play trios, duos, all of us here. We're
You forgot squads.
rocking it. We do squads. I love squads. We're missing. I was telling Dally, like, the more people you can get that, like, hey, yeah, I'll play, the better with Fortnite. Even though you might have 8 people of your friends on, and you might have to pick what squad you're rolling with. It's way better because then you know, like, 9 times out of 10, when you get on Fortnite, somebody's on.
You remember the first time we played Fortnite?
No.
I do.
Talk about
Bill.
it.
So it was.
Spill
had to
the
be
beats,
20
bruh.
You were.
I got a random thought after this.
You might have been. I think you were in high school still. I'm pretty sure. And you're like, "Hey, let's play Fortnite." I'm like, "No, that game's stupid."
I'm like, why not?
And anyways, we get on.
Not dumb. I mean, it's pretty fucking dumb.
It is. I play a game, and Riley's like, "Oh, I'm about on." I'm like, "You won't believe this, but I just won the first game. Like I've ever played, I won." And Riley's like, "Yeah, that's awesome."
You played
And, like,
99
let me
bots.
let me go for like a couple hours. He's like, "By the way, everybody wins the first game." And I was like, "Jesus, here we go."
Like, it's straight AI bots. First game. I didn't have the heart to tell him. And then he just kept talking about, I just can't believe I won my first game. I go,
I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, this is pretty sad. I'm 28 years old, and I think I'm really good at a video game. So.
pretty good at
Like,
Halo,
God.
I imagine.
So my thought process, I wonder, you're just talking about a bunch of people in a game. I wonder if there was 8 people and they were all in a party, but in different lobbies, two squads basically. Wonder if you could do that in the same party and get loaded into the same map. That'd be sick.
That'd be awesome. And then, like, it ends with, like, you against each other.
Hey, fuckers,
Yeah.
we're coming for you.
Dude.
Hey, look up. We're in a sky base.
Yeah.
I get Vega.
Oh, yeah.
He's got to be on our team.
Yeah. Pretty solid. Or, like,
Everybody's like talking about, oh yeah, I'm out here cranking 90s. There's no 90s being cranked by me. I'm just building not to die.
dude, I hit the circle R2, and then I throw up, like, 8 walls, like, 4 of them high.
I don't even do that. I just try to run away. Too many years of COD and Halo in college. There's no such thing as Fortnite. Just run away.
Yeah.
But
And then you go
No,
back
I will
to those
say-
games, and then you
Say,
just
that's what I was going to. I was like,
the guy only
it's
gets
like Jesus.
6 inches off of
Or
the
you hit circle or whatever. And you're like, why are my bills not popping in? So
Gotta love it. Fun game though. Great game. The Modern Warfare 2 remastered is pretty good too.
I haven't got into it.
I don't know if
Yeah, I haven't
I
either.
don't venture too far.
Normally I didn't either, or I don't. But I was
I'm a
playing.
pretty basic guy.
I was playing with my brother-in-law, and they have this thing. It's kind of cool. I can't remember what it's called, but you get dropped into like a chopper, and then they drop you. It's kind of like Warzone, if
Yeah.
that makes sense, but it's not. There's no storm, and it's a city called like El Mazrah.
Yeah.
You get dropped in, and you just do as many objectives as you want, and there are only 3 exit locations, exfil locations where you have to go, throw your flare, they come pick you up. Here's the thing, though. This map is huge. There, like I said, there's only 3 locations for like 30 minutes, and there is AI, like pretty much they make it seem like the Al-Qaeda, but there are also real people in there. If you encounter real people, then you shoot each other, but you're all just really trying to do your objectives. So, like, if there's like 8 teams, only 3 of them are getting out. So you got to like do as many objectives as you want and then go to the exfil location so that you can leave. And like I thought that game mode is pretty cool because you're like,
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
like, ooh, I'm doing a mission, and you
A
get
little too story mode for me, but yeah, it's interesting.
you get more XP and then like upgrade all your guns or whatever. And then, but also the cool thing is like you can customize your loadout. But if you die in El Mazrah with that loadout, you don't get those guns back for like 24 hours. So then you just spawn like Fortnite. You have to find a gun. Like I think they give you
A great pistol.
yeah. No, it's probably the equivalent to a green SMG. I think is what they'll give you. But like for the most part, it's. I mean, I thought that was fun because it makes you feel like, wow, I'm just coming through the desert here.
No, I tried to mess with the Warzone for a little bit, but I don't know. I don't think it's hackers, but like people are fucking unreal.
Oh, dude! Like even like you play a guy in Fortnite, you're like that dude was good, but like in
You don't even get a shot off.
Wars, no, because you don't see him.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, have you guys ever go ahead? Sorry.
I'm playing with my buddy Matt. What was that? I think he was last year or something like that. And I thought he was hacking. He was that good. It was crazy. And I said, where did you get good at playing this between your, baseball career and stuff like that? He's like, I've had a lot of time on my hands.
Is Matt? Does he have a computer?
No. PlayStation.
I've got a story about this. So, anytime it was probably when I was in college or something, and I was back home over spring break or whatnot, or summer break, and Tuttle's like, dude, I think I want a computer. Like I want, and I'm like, what?
My younger
you
self
don't.
getting thrown under the bus
He's like-
here. Continue.
He's like, a gaming computer. I'm like, oh, cool.
I had good reasons. I could watch film and stuff on it. I was going to do some drafting with it.
Farm-
None of that ever happened.
Farm Simulator. He loves Farm Simulator.
No way.
That's not true.
No way. You love Farm
You love
Simulator?
Farm Simulator.
I love Farm Simulator. Me and my brother-in-law have farms together. It's awesome.
You and Chuck?
Yeah.
Good for you. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So we go up to.
New one should come out this summer.
Did we go to Topeka?
Yeah, Best
We
Buy.
go to
Yeah,
Best Buy Topeka, and he really wanted to just get the base model for like 700.
Would you get Alienware?
700.
No,
Yeah,
yeah.
$700. They didn't have it. He's
Yeah,
like,
this was
you have
dumb,
this one? They're like, let me look. Beep. No, we have not the next one, but we have the best one. they said. Yeah, he's like, all right.
$2,600. Sure. Ring us.
It's like 27, I'm pretty sure.
Lord.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, no. I'm like, cool, let's go then. We start walking around. He goes, but I know I want a computer. I'm like, what the hell are you going to do with a $3,000 computer that you can't do with a $1,900 one?
We'll get a warranty on it.
And he's like, I don't know, dude. I could use it for pretty much anything and everything. And then he's like,
Walking around Best Buy talking himself into it.
Yes.
I'm the,
Pretty sure I called like my dad, and he's like, "You're an idiot. Don't call me for this."
I'm the type of guy that I'm like, all right, I know where it's going. And I know eventually he's going to get there.
Yeah.
So I'm like, then let's get him there. I'm like, I think you need to do it. I think you have to do it, to be honest with you.
If none of this works out, selling cars or drugs will work really well for you.
Yeah. I'm like, I say, why not? He's like, because that's a lot of money. I'm like, so? I'm like, dude, Do it right now. You're never gonna
Make more money every day.
I'm like, you're never gonna have this opportunity.
They come back to Best Buy in Topeka ever again.
I'm like, that's not even the Best Buy in like 100 miles we could have gone to. But I'm like, dude, buy it. Just get it, man.
Why Topeka of all places?
So Topeka, it was just closer. To be honest with you,
I get that.
I guess we could have came to Wichita.
Well, it's just such a shit show.
Yeah, and Topeka's just really fallen off. When I was,
Dude,
it's probably fallen off from when you would go when you were in high school or whatever. When I was probably in elementary school, we'd always go to like Chuck E. Cheese, and I thought Topeka was awesome.
yes. Chuck E. Cheese is a nice part of town. It's still not that great.
I know, that's what I'm saying. And then out of nowhere, like everything just stopped. Like that whole strip mall across from Chuck E. Cheese, I love that. Like,
Where's that at?
It's on, no, it's out on...
It's not Wanamaker, is it?
Yeah, it's on Wanamaker.
Okay.
It's South Wanamaker.
Okay.
Like 29th and 21st and Wanamaker, 29th.
So we used to go to like Old
29th.
Chicago all the time. It's not even there anymore. They just closed up shop.
Up north on
Yeah.
Wanamaker, yeah. Because I went to school there. I went to Washburn. So I lived right next to the school, and there would be multiple times where I'd come home from morning workouts, and there's freaking rifles across fucking fronts of cars on a standoff. Twice. I've had it happen twice in the same apartment complex as me.
I would leave and be like, well, boys.
Well, I mean, it's kind of crazy when you got to email your professor. It's like, yeah, I'm going to be a little late this morning. I was stood up at gunpoint.
Oh, dear.
I have a funny story about gunpoint. I'm a little close. I'm new at this. I have a junior college story about gunpoint too. So when we get into
Yeah, we're going to get into
Okay,
JUCO.
leading into there, I think.
Well, I was going to go back,
Okay.
but it doesn't even matter anymore. I was just going to ask if either of you guys ever played Battlefield.
never, I never have.
Seen it? I've never gotten into
Dude, Battlefield is sick.
it.
It's massive.
Yeah. Yes.
It's massive.
The
And there's objectives and stuff like that too. Like you're like one of four people. So like there's different people like snipers. There's people who drive the tanks. There's people like that are ammo people, and there's
fly
medikits
planes too, right?
You can fly planes. Like
it's cool that like when you spawn, you pick what you want to do.
I remember
Correct.
in college just because I played it.
So leading into junior college, Keaton, if you want to go ahead and just talk about like your start from high school football to college, and then eventually how you ended up at Emporia.
Interesting, but not interesting story. So, all right. So, I always knew I wanted to play college football. That was
first of all, where you're from Iowa, correct?
I'm from Iowa.
Where at?
Cherokee.
Cherokee, Iowa. It's the greatest
That was in Oklahoma.
not kept secret. So the funny thing is, it's a Native American name, and there's no Cherokee Native Americans in the state of Iowa. There was a lot of the Sioux tribe was basically, from my understanding, what covered most of Iowa, things like that. Potawatomi was in southern Iowa. Because grew up on a farm, and in that area, a lot of farmers will find arrowheads and different stuff like that, especially down by the river. It's a pretty good impersonation. The story about, remember the time that you had the pillow under your shirt and you did the Matt Foley, and you fell through the table, messing with not the superintendent, the substitute. I told that story last week on the track bus to Dreher. He'd never heard it. Thought it was hilarious. Had to be there, but
I think you just had to be there.
stories. We might have to tell the story.
I'll talk about them.
So from Cherokee, Iowa, if you know where Sioux City, Iowa is, it's about an hour northeast of that, not good at directions.
Like you're from there, I don't know.
So it's on the eastern side.
Western.
Western.
So
Okay.
up, basically where I grew up.
Yeah, basically like an hour south of Sioux Falls, correct?
Yeah, well, I'm almost an hour and a half east of Sioux Falls, or where my parents live.
Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
South Dakota, yeah.
Okay.
So about an hour, 40 minutes from Minnesota, 50 minutes from South Dakota, hour
up
from
there.
Nebraska, a little bit of everything up there. How I got basically, to here, knew I wanted to play college football. I'll be completely honest, was not a very good athlete in high school. Tall, uncoordinated. You know the story.
It happens to the best of us.
Measurables real quick so people back home can.
It's like when I was in high school or me now?
High school and then now.
Here's a good one. When I was an eighth grader, I was 6'5", 275. So we grew pretty quick. Couldn't really run and talk or anything like that, or even walk and talk at the same time. But got a little more, I guess, coordination as I became like a senior in high school. It did help. I played football, basketball, threw in track, ran a little bit in track in my senior year. And did I say baseball too? Because in Iowa, they play baseball through the school in the summertime. So I was able to do all four for 4 years, which I think helped.
Say that again. You could do track and baseball.
So track was in the spring, and then baseball would start after track through the school.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
And I think that's how it should be done everywhere.
Instead of Legion baseball, they had high school baseball in summer.
And there still is Legion baseball. They play on weekends when you don't have high school tournaments and stuff like that. But I think it's huge because it doesn't cause kids to have to choose track or baseball.
Right.
There's a little overlap, but there isn't any sport too. So we didn't have soccer. I didn't go to a very big school.
Yeah, say how big? How, is it like a 3A? What we would know in Kansas?
When I was in high school, the biggest class was 4A. Now it sounds like they're starting to have 5As in Iowa. I graduated with about 70 people. So it was 2A at the time. I'm not sure if that's equivalent to here or not. Now I think they're a 1A. It's about the same size. But there are some smaller schools around I think are starting to talk about consolidating and going to Cherokee, because Cherokee would be the biggest city in the county. It's the county seat of Cherokee County, obviously. So knew I wanted to, I guess back to the story, knew I wanted to play football. My parents are, huge into sports. My mom was a basketball player in college, like a 2-time all-conference. It's funny. She played 6-on-6 in high school because they didn't have 5-on-5.
Yeah.
She scored almost like 4,000 points in high school. So without a three-pointer, she was very good. Yeah.
Good night, Mrs. Iowa.
That's right. My dad played football. Yeah, in college for a while. Did basketball for a little while. Did track. Played 1 year high school football. Was a fullback. I remember there was a time, I was joking around with him about, because he told me he was a good football player, but he's a very humble, quiet, reserved man. And I was like, no way. I don't believe it. And he pulled out this old briefcase, suitcase, whatever it be, starts pulling out newspaper clippings, and it was in 1970, I probably the year wrong, 1973, 74. He was a fullback in the wishbone at like 6'4", 240. So he just hammered dudes. I mean, it was awesome. Yeah. And I didn't believe it when I was a kid. And then finally I started to see this stuff. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Dad, you're all right.
Yeah. So they met in college, and, they were always into sports. A school called Westmar. It's not there anymore. It was in Lamar's, Iowa. So my mom ran track there, played basketball. My dad did a little bit of everything: football, track, basketball. And then after that, so my dad farmed forever. My mom was a school counselor, a coach volleyball and basketball for like 25 years. My 2 older sisters were athletes. My younger sister is an athlete. So I was like probably the lesser athlete than all of them. But I had the measurables, which I think helped. So I just had to kind of figure out how to be a little coordinated and, play a sport. So I knew I wanted to play college football. Didn't have great grades in high school, which is unfortunate because looking back, I could have. I just was, I think, lazy when it came to school. Got a $300 scholarship to go to Iowa Western and play $300 a year. So it was $150 a semester. Could have gone to Morningside in Sioux City, which is a NAIA powerhouse. They're dominant every year. I think Nyack at the time still had football, but they were in the process of closing up shop. And then Iowa Central came in late. I was an Iowa kid, wanted to play, and they basically were like, yeah, we'll take you. Decided one day, Coach Jeff Monty from Iowa Western called me. Was like, well, you're going to have to make a decision pretty soon, because if not, we're going to move on. And I was like, oh, I understand. I'm coming to Iowa Western. So February of my senior year, I just decided that's what I wanted to do. Signed and showed up the first day at Iowa Western with 200 other dudes, and I was like, this is crazy. We had, and you guys know how this goes, junior college football. We had probably 40 or 50 guys the first night leave, never come back. Yep. I remember our practice fields at Iowa Western were down kind of in a valley, surrounded by trees, and you'd see occasionally just like dudes just walking off, and you'd never see him again. It was crazy. And I remember my first year, Fall camp was like 28 days or something like that, and it was
Brutal.
just
This was Iowa Western's actual first season of playing football.
So like we just talked about this. Iowa Western had spring ball the year before I got there. Didn't play in any games. The next year they had games, or we had games. But yeah, it was crazy. So part of it was I think they had to bring in a lot of guys to get started, but they also had to weed out a lot of guys too. So camp was brutal. I remember, I'll never forget it. Our center, his name is Dallas Hendrickson. Great guy. Ended up going to play on at Rutgers. Just a phenomenal, great shot putter, great wrestler. Probably walks on water in Northern Iowa. Great guy. But I remember taking a knee by him one day. We got done with Indy. And I said, what day of the week is it? It's like Tuesday, Wednesday. He's like, dude, it's Sunday afternoon. And I was like, okay. So we've been at this a while.
I'm lost.
Because camp was like 3 or 4 weeks back then.
Right.
I mean, it was, and you had 2 days every other day. And the other day you had a morning practice for 3 hours and a walkthrough at night. So you basically had 2 days every day. And honestly, through that, though, I started to kind of realize, I'm like, if I can get through this, we'll get through it. So, like I said, almost walked on, got some playing time in almost every game that year. And then that winter, going into the next year, Coach Strohmeyer, who's one of my favorite people in the entire world, called me into his office, gave me a scholarship. And that day it was almost like I was hooked. I'm like, that's right there. I knew, wanted to be a college football player no matter what. Had a goal, because it might be kind of dumb, but I remember I wanted to be able to give my dad a football that said, NCAA on it. So that was my next goal. Next year, I was kind of our 6th guy, played, but wasn't a starter. We had a guy get hurt about the second practice of game week. So I remember my offensive line coach was like, hey, I was playing tackle at the time. They moved me to guard. I remember we were doing one-on-ones. I was going against a guy named Jordan Heiderman, who actually went on to play at Indiana and is kind of working himself into the UFC right now.
Wow.
Great dude. And it was a very good D lineman. I happened to have just one good play in one-on-ones, and our line coach, 2 of my other favorite guys in the world, were like, yeah, you're never playing tackle again. You're playing guard. You're going to be a guard. So worked myself into the starting lineup. And started every game that season other than I got hurt. I can't remember. We were playing Joliet Junior College out of Illinois. Took a step, went down, tore part of my patellar tendon. Came back 2 weeks later, ended up playing. We played school out of Michigan.
Michigan State.
No.
East Lansing.
Yeah.
You ever heard of?
It's funny because actually the school who we played is in, I think, East Lansing, but they're not there anymore. I can't remember the name of it at all.
A lot of the schools have fallen off. It's probably still there, but they probably don't have football.
Yeah, I think
just like Joliet.
Yep. The coach, I always say his name wrong. I'm pretty sure it's Tony Anise. He's the head coach at Fair State now.
Yeah.
And they've had a lot of success.
Son plays in the NFL.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Yeah, great dude. I thought he was awesome. I got to meet him at a clinic. We went to Glazier, took the football staff 2 years ago to St. Louis, and he was talking there. So I went up and I was like, "Hey, you remember 2010 when you lost Iowa Western?" It was pretty funny. He took a picture with me, sent it to Strohmeyer. But no, he was a good dude. Got hurt, didn't play that. That's the only game I didn't play. And then at the time was kind of hopeful I was going to go to like Youngstown State, North Dakota. Didn't work out, and that's fine. It's just kind of how it goes. I had a couple offers. Took an offer from Fort Hays. Played for Coach Brown out there. Love Coach Brown. And at the time, I've told Riley this story before. I remember being at Fort Hays thinking like, oh, I'm getting slighted, blah, blah. And come to find out, like it took me a few years to realize it, but I was just kind of soft. Just wasn't as good of a player as I thought I was. And it takes you a while to realize that, when you're a college athlete, you're like, oh, better than, and you're not. But kind of came to realize, this was just a couple years ago, I had the realization, like, I don't think I went there to, necessarily, I did go there to play football. Didn't feel like I went there to actually be a football player. I think I was sent there to, to learn how to approach people and how to, be, a coach and stuff like that. So that's kind of where I think football took me. I think I played football to become a coach. That's what I've wanted to do forever. I mean, I remember being a little kid, and part of it is watching, my mom coach, stuff like that, and getting to enjoy that. So, like I said, took a scholarship to Fort Hays, played there for 3 years. Went back for another year of school because I decided to have a little bit too much fun out in Hays.
Don't we all?
Yeah. And then the next year
out there. Shout out Luke Fletcher.
The next year, I got a job offer to teach at Emporia High, and I've been there since 2015. So,
how did that all of all places Emporia? Why?
So this is kind of crazy. So I was done playing football, and I was in school for another year, 8 months, whatever it was. And I remember sitting in a drafting lab, and I'm just like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like I remember talking to my dad, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna move home. I'm gonna either help farm or I'm gonna work at. My dad was at the time a manager of Pioneer soybean plant.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, I'll work there or something like that. And I kind of remember the conversation with my parents where they're like, you need to kind of make something of your own, like go do something,
write your own story.
Yeah. And so I was talking to one of my professors, and I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like I'm a 23-year-old dude who's still in college, not playing a sport, and I'm basically sitting in this office like in tears because I have no idea what I'm going to do. The department head, like the next day, comes running down. He's like, hey, you used to be in education, right? And I was like, yeah. And then backstory, I started out, I was going to be a kindergarten teacher.
Oh, wow.
I thought for a long time I'd be in elementary ed. Don't know why. I just kind of thought that's where I'd go. That changed. So I got out of elementary ed, I was like, well, I grew up on a farm. I like agriculture. Let's go into that. And they're like, well, you're going to need another 2 years of school. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that.
I'm out.
Changed my mind from that. And the tech department at Fort Hays kind of just like calling with open arms. They're like, yeah, you can take a year's worth of stuff. You'll be done. Do an internship, blah, blah, blah. So I was doing an internship and taking classes at the same time. He comes running in the room. It's like a week before school's out. And I already had a degree. And he's like, you ever thought about teaching again? And I was like, maybe. He's like, well, give these two people a call. One was the principal at Ulysses, and one was at Emporia. And I was thinking, I'm like, I don't want to go to Ulysses. Like, I'm already 8 hours from home. Yeah.
Cool thing about this is Fort Hays, right? They would come and play at Emporia. So he remembers like playing at Welch Stadium. And it's like just those random things where you're like, little did I know, like 4 years later, I'd be a teacher here and coach on this field.
Yeah. The one that I remember the most is we used to, when we played Washburn, because Coach Brown was on the Washburn staff for a long time. We would go to Washburn Rural to have walkthroughs. Mm-hmm. 1 year I think they were redoing the turf. So we were out on their grass practice fields, right? I think it's just north of their stadium.
Yep, exactly.
And I remember staring up at the water tower. It's got the big WR on it. And I was like, what the hell am I doing here? Like, I'm 7 hours from home. I don't really know anybody in Kansas. Like, I'm leaving. I'm never coming back. And, and then almost 10 years later, I remember standing there looking up at the water tower. I'm like, holy shit. This is crazy.
Why?
Like,
what am I doing?
You start making plans and things change. But
the world turns, man.
Yep. So these two principals, I never called the guy from Ulysses. Sorry, Mr. Stewart. Never called him because I was like, I'm already pretty far from home. And at this point, I was done with school. I'm like, I kind of want to get back there. Don't know if I do or not. Apparently not. But never called him. Called the guy from Emporia. It was Dr. Hart, your high school principal. And he's like, hey, just come in for an interview tomorrow. And I was like, what? He's like, just come on and just drive out here. It'll be fine. And I was like, all right. Like, well, let's see what happens.
Which is funny because that's exactly how that guy is.
Absolutely. I went from like a Monday having no idea what I was going to do to Tuesday accepting an interview to Wednesday driving to Emporia and accepting a job.
Crazy how fast that shit happens.
Yeah. And I didn't have a degree in education, so I had to do a alternative certification route. So I did that. And then, 9 years later, or 8, excuse me, have a master's in education, taught for 8 years, decided to, be an assistant coach, then a head coach, and then decided to give it all up and change careers. So,
it's
no time lost.
Yeah, no, you're following what you want to do. I'm sure the other thing about it is I'm sure teaching gave you some really good, not advice, but in the right direction of where you want to go.
Oh yeah,
in coaching.
Absolutely. And I look at a lot of the coaches I had, and it first started with my parents, and I think they were great coaches, to begin with. But I think of Coach Brown, Coach Strohmeyer, my position coaches, Coach Uparessa, Coach Brown, Coach Woods, Coach Iskey. Those guys. They're not in kind of what I picked up over my years of teaching and stuff like that. Is sure they'll get after you some, especially if you're doing something that they don't want you to be doing, stuff like that. But one thing I noticed the most is they take the time to explain it and teach you. And kind of, a lot of people think of coaching as you're just sitting there screaming at somebody or yelling at them until they do the job right. And that's not how they approached it at all. They were very calm people. Coach Strohmeyer, especially, Coach Brown, calm, expect you to do your job and do your job well. But they're not overly animated guys, and I've kind of always seen that as how I'd like to be, coaching wise, and teaching. I think to your point, shows that a lot, because there's a lot of different ways you got to go.
Right. Another thing, and I didn't realize this until I got back here to Butler and was out on the road recruiting. A lot of kids that are going to play for you out there are very similar to the kids that are at Emporia, because they're coming from the same demographic culture that was Kansas high school.
Oh, absolutely.
And I didn't, you got to be able to relate with those kids. And I didn't realize until I got back and went on the road recruiting, and I was like in Alabama, and I saw where some of those kids come from.
Oh, yeah.
So once they get here, you can kind of relate with them. Mm-hmm. And that kind of, because you don't understand what they're going through until you've sat in their living room and talked with their parents and done that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So I think that'll be huge for you at the college level.
Yeah, and I'm hopeful. I'm looking forward to that. It's one thing I think that, to my own horn here, one thing I think I am able to do is, if I get past the being shy and quiet, I think I'm able to have a conversation with a lot of people.
Absolutely.
And through teaching and things like that, you do understand that people come from all walks of life and face different challenges and different things. You have kids every day, especially in Emporia, and Riley and his mom especially can attest to this. There's some kids that their number one concern is, am I going to eat today or not?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it's sad to say, but I think that's a big problem in the world today.
Absolutely. And just with that, you finally, I think, in getting into college coaching and things like that, you guys are there and they have it's almost a life or not. It isn't life or death, but it's kind of how they approach it. It's like, I'm going to be successful, or I don't know.
Well, it's where they find their out. It's
absolutely.
They have to worry about so much other stuff, but when they strap the helmet on, the only thing they have to worry about is football.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. And trying to explain that to some, we've had some guys leave Emporia High, wanted to be college athletes and things like that, and they're athletically they're ready. The other side of that's probably the hard part. So I'm hopeful we were able to stress that quite a bit to him over the last few years. I think like Riley's class, some of those guys, they were ready for it. They understood it. And I'm hoping that's what they were still able to gather over the last couple of years, I guess.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
How many years were you the head coach in Emporia High? 3?
So 2 and 2.2 is what I call it. So not very long. I was interim coach for 2 games, and then the next year I was the head coach, and then this past season I was the head coach as well. Yeah, it was. It's funny because you get into it and you think it's all you ever want, and then until you get into it and you see something else, you're like, oh, that might be a lot more fun. So, and that's kind of where I've headed. So,
in coaching period, the more you think about, like, us as humans, you have that want factor, right? So you could be a high school coach and do this and that, and then you could be like, oh man, well, I think like making that step up to be a college coach, I never thought I might want to be that, but maybe I do want to do that. So then you want that, and then you get that, and then you're like, okay, now I want to go from being here, I want to go to a bigger college, boom, and then you're like, oh, but I need to make more money, so I got to make this step over here, and then it's like, so many people have their different view of what their pinnacle realm is to be a coach, like, period, and you really don't know until you get into it, and you're like, okay, that's just what I want, that's my end goal, that's what I need, that's it. But a credit to you is being a head coach at a high school in Kansas and being able to take that faith on you. We talk about JUCO. You bet on yourself to play. Now you're betting on yourself to go and coach. So
yeah, and I can't take all the credit for it. You're right. I mean, yeah, I'm taking a big gamble. I think. Well, I don't see it as a gamble. Some people probably do. I know that when I decided to resign, people were probably like, "Are you nuts? Like, what do you got a great gig right now?" You know.
And
no offense to anybody or those people, but they probably don't understand it. You know what I mean? Like,
No, you're exactly right. And that's kind of, I got to the point where I was like, I don't have to justify this to anybody but myself.
Absolutely.
And and that's what I decided.
That's what I
to
tell
do.
my wife every day. It's like, but they're gonna think this, and
So?
who cares?
Yeah.
Like, we got to do what's best for us.
yeah.
That's exactly right. And I got to the point where I had, one of my former teammates is the D-line coach at Fort Hays, and he actually called me asking about camps when, because I was head coach, and he wanted to just kind of know if we'd be interested in going out there and, how different ones worked and stuff like that. And I remember I was actually sitting in his parents' basement, and I remember just sending him a text like, hey, what would it take, for me to get to, either be a GA or something like that. And he's like, were you serious? And I was like, yeah. And next thing you know, it's kind of been history, but, yeah, like I said, I can't take all the credit for it. I've had a lot of really, really good, people in my life, Riley's family, my parents, my sisters. I've had some great coaches.
Yeah, I was gonna say just the coaches alone. Holy cow!
Yeah.
I mean, just the two head guys that you've been a part of when you were in college are two phenomenal dudes.
Oh yeah, and that's I like to think that just being around them, you learn. Obviously, there's always going to be X's and O's things that you can learn. I mean, that part is going to that's going to change and it's going to evolve and it's going to be the same but the high character guys, I think that's the biggest part or one of them.
In my honest opinion, I haven't been in the X's and O's side of it that much, but I was able to learn it in a very short amount of time. And I didn't learn everything, but what I will say is my opinion on the hardest thing is managing people.
Absolutely.
Because it's like, holy smokes, when you get a room full of 125, 130 dudes,
Yeah.
you got to figure out how to get them all moving in the same direction.
Yeah.
And if you don't, it's kind of a shit show.
Oh, absolutely. And on top of that, you've got, and let's be honest, in coaching football, there's a lot of egos. We know that. I mean, and I'd be lying to say if everybody didn't have one. I like to think, well, I don't have one, but we know that's not true. And dealing with coaches and different things like that, it is. You're right, because you could have one guy not on the same page or not wanting to go the same direction, and all the work you've done.
Or one guy just has a bad day and it turns somebody else's opinion on the entire thing.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So it's like,
Yep.
just gotta make sure you can stay even keel with everybody.
Without a doubt.
No hill too high, no valley too low.
That's right. Yep. It's funny. One of I had some great offensive line coaches. I still talk to you to this day. Coach Uparessa, he coached our tackles when I was at junior college. Actually played on the Hawaii team with Cole Brennan.
Oh, wow.
They were good friends. He definitely knows how to pass, protect, and things like that. So we learned a lot from him. Him and Coach Woods. Coach Woods is more of our interior O-line coach and did a lot of our run game stuff. But I'll never forget it. One of the things I learned from them was it's never as good as you think it is. It's never as bad as you think it is. And I've kind of tried to carry that through. He's probably heard me say that numerous times. Try to carry that one through all the way through, because it's true. I mean, I think you have a great day, just hold on. Because there's going to be another day that's not great coming right after it. And if you have a terrible one, there's going to be one that's coming along that's going to be pretty good too.
That's really big and relatable with film. You're you're watching.
God, we just knocked their socks off, and you go back and watch film. It's like, holy shit, we could have beat them by 80 instead of 50.
Yep.
It's like,
Or you're like, wow, this play was good, but he did the wrong thing.
Yeah,
He took a complete wrong step here. Great block, good finish, but the reason why you had to do the finish was because you got beat.
Yeah.
To be quite honest with you, if you didn't finish, that guy's making the play.
Oh, yeah.
So, no, and that was huge. And then whenever you would go through and you'd say that in high school, I would always be like, yep. And then you'd look and you can see it.
Yeah.
He was right. I thought I had a hell of a day out there, and instead, nope.
No, that's exactly right. Like I said, some of the character, traits that I think I learned from, I got to go back to it. I was pretty lucky. I have some All-American parents, biological and non-biological. But, my parents were able to I think they missed one college game of mine. And that's because my younger sister had senior day for volleyball. So understandable.
Yeah.
But, they traveled to Utah, North Dakota, all over Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma. They didn't miss a single game. So, yeah, I was pretty fortunate and lucky there. And learned a lot from them and the coaches I had, and some of the friends around me too. And yeah, we'll see what happens.
So, folks, I've known Keaton a long time, and he's told me this one story. He's got a couple stories. This one really.
Hey, I'm going to take a pause here. Got some big news in Kansas high school football recruiting. Jaden Woods, kid from Mill Valley, you know who I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. Just picked up Alabama.
Oh, my.
Big time.
Oh, wow.
I think he's a 25 kid, too, no? He's a 25.
What's he play?
Like DN rush guy.
It's been good for a while.
How big is he?
6'3", 220.
Yeah. A lot of those walking around,
Sorry, don't let me take you out. Just literally just popped up at the top of my mind. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Not a lot of kids get
Well, we're also taking a little side.
out of high school, at least.
Arlington Renegades. Good for them.
Was that,
Good for Bob
was that your
Stoops.
picks?
No, neither one of our picks.
Dragons. Good for Bob Stoops and AJ McCarron.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Well, AJ McCarron. It's
why do I
Luis
think
Perez.
that? No.
Yeah.
It's not the Renegade. Is he?
He got traded mid-season.
I think he's going to be good. Look, man, who's their quarterback?
Who?
The Renegades.
Luis
No,
Perez.
before it was Luis.
Oh,
all they were needing was a quarterback or what?
yeah, it was not. It wasn't a nobody by any means, but it was like not somebody that we would recognize. Battlehawks, yeah.
Okay.
And Luis Perez was with
Viper.
the Vipers. Yes. Yeah.
So
Speaking of that, we got to get our Viper guy on here.
we do.
Season's over, so
I hope the story's true.
It's a high school basketball game, Keaton Tuttle. And he is on this other team. Him and this guy were kind of talking to the same girl.
Oh God.
And I really don't know how it goes.
well, 2 for 1.
Is this when I fell?
No.
I thought this is like you're both centers in the middle of the jump, and they throw the ball up and jump, and Keaton just fucking sucker punches this dude.
No way, that's true.
He's kicked out. Well, tell the story.
Mom told me that story.
Oh.
We must be getting. She told me a story about she was a high school basketball coach for a long time. There was
That story isn't as cool as I thought.
you got to we got them mixed up.
Ratings are going down as we
Yeah,
speak.
Okay.
we'll straighten those out. But no, this guy.
Talk is not factual.
She told me the story where these two guys were going for the jump at the beginning of the game, and instead of one of the guys going for the jump, when the other one did, he just reached across and punched him right in the groin, we should say.
Right in the nut tap area.
Yeah, so I always thought, like, try that sometime.
All right, so did you get thrown out of a high school basketball game?
No.
Oh.
Got a technical once in a summer league game. This is the closest I got.
You were playing or coaching?
Playing. So I was going into like my junior year, like middle of summer. We're playing in a small Iowa gym. We have officials who are, just anybody that got to officiate these games, playing in a tournament.
Playmaker.
Still doing it, which is,
dude, killing it.
Jeez, I hope I even live that long. But kid trips, and I go to grab him because I'm like, well, it's just a pickup game, basically. And he's going to eat it right into this wall. Well, as I go to grab him, I basically trip as well. So it looks like I just slammed this dude into the concrete wall.
It's boarding.
Yeah. But no, I smoked him, and it looks like I pushed this kid right into the wall. And gets heat up for it, and then I started arguing with this official. It's one of the few times I've ever argued with an official as a player. One of the other times it was actually an assistant coach at Fort Hays who's still there. He probably doesn't remember it, but he was a GA when I was there, and we were in winter conditioning, and I was just like, this shit is stupid. Why did something happened where we weren't supposed to have winter conditioning. They told us there's a chance we wouldn't have it, but I'm pretty sure we were going to anyways. And I was
Gotta love those
I was
mind
like
games.
the old man going into my 5th year and just hated everything at this point. We had to do extra running, and I just started freaking out. Finally, I'll never forget Coach Harris, who's their DC still. I remember looking at me just like, shut the. And I was like, all right, you win. I'm done. I'll stop. And then I just had to run for a while.
Hours.
Love them.
Yeah.
Have you, in your coaching career, do you get on officials at all?
I never really was one to get too crazy on them. I did get a little irritated a couple times this year. We were playing Topeka High and I ended up being wrong in this situation. Quarterback I thought was past the line, threw a ball, they caught it, touchdown, we go down, but it looked like he was past the line, but obviously you only have to have like part of
Any
your
part of
arm,
your body, yeah.
And he wasn't. We were wrong. But then the last week we were playing Blue Valley Southwest, and they were going in to score. I can't remember, but I'm standing kind of on the, not the hash, but next to the sideline watching because I'm at like the 30, and next thing you know, I see a flag. And I start walking kind of down the sideline. Play was stopped, and I was like, "What's a flag?" And the official's like, "It's on you." And I was like, "Me? Like, what are you talking about?"
You're behind the play.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm 30 yards behind the play. He's like, "You're on the field," and I was like, "Okay." Like, just
Power trip.
it ended up not mattering. But I probably said something really stupid to the guy, and
I love getting on officials, and it shouldn't, but I love it. It's hilarious. And the bad thing is, like in our league, like I don't know that they're any better than high school officials, but I feel like the high school officials have been doing it for a long time.
Yeah,
and I feel like the kids that we get in our conference are like officials that think they're bigger than high school.
Yeah.
But they're not any better than the high school.
I look at officials, and it's pretty unprofessional by them, but it'll just give it right back.
Oh, I love it.
Oh yeah,
I love it.
Yeah.
Home plate umpires, those are my favorite types of dudes. Like, you're screaming, and they scream back, and like you as a fan, you're like, you can't say that. He's more official than this guy.
No, I wasn't really a big. If it was blatantly wrong, I'd make it known like, hey, you're an idiot. But then they turn around and be like, "Do you see that last play you called? You're an idiot too." And kind of that point too. But
I've only lost my mind once on the sideline, but I've come very close multiple times.
When was it?
We had
Was that 19?
19. We were at Coffeyville. DL is running down on a kickoff and just gets blown up from the back. And, like, DL gets up and he's, like, drunk, like, can't even walk. And I am, like, going crazy at this official. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, and DL was he had a concussion, whatever. But literally, we watched it on film, and he got blown up from the back. And it's like, what the? Nothing.
the worst part I've found with that is they'll be like, "Well, we want to see the film on it." So you send it, but you don't hear anything from them. Yeah, I mean, they're not going to be like,
now,
"We were wrong."
I will tell you, and I'm giving this kudos to baseball a little bit. Speaking of officials, we went to Ellsworth you're going to think this story is hilarious. We went to Ellsworth last game of the year this past year.
Iowa Falls, great place.
Terrible place. And they had a chain gang that had never run the chains before. And it's literally, there are 3 outfielders and 2 soccer players.
Oh, no.
Nobody speaks English.
And it's like 4 degrees.
And snowing, sleeting.
They had never really
Get that on them big jobs.
Get that
Anyway,
big job.
the only person on our sideline that knew a lick of Spanish was me. Not only was I the only one that knew Spanish, but I also call it like special teams charts. So I'm like running from the special teams box to the first down marker, to the special teams box, to the first down marker. Like telling them what the hell's going on. It was wild. Cold, freezing.
Cold game that day.
Yeah, I've only been there the one time. We played them obviously, and I was at Iowa Western. Actually saw one of the, I'd say it's probably one of the most heads up plays I've seen somebody do.
Ellsworth used to be all right.
They were. Actually, I was just talking to Riley. My sophomore year, I don't know, like we'll get into that. I'll tell you the story in just a second. My freshman year, the quarterback they had ended up, I think it was Terrell Rennie. I think it was his name. Ended up playing at Northern Iowa for a while. They were out of timeouts, had to throw basically a Hail Mary. He's rolling out, getting under pressure, and knows he's going to get tackled, and he rolls the ball out of bounds like it was a fumble. So the clock stopped, and they got another play. One of the most heads-up plays I've ever – to be in that mindset, like I've got to do something to stop the clock, I mean, that was impressive. Yeah, I don't like Ellsworth because my sophomore year, we were undefeated. So we went like 6-5 my first year, or 5-5 maybe. I can't remember. My second year, we had a couple of guys transfer in, some really basically heavy hitters. Our quarterback transferred in from Louisville, like a 6'7" dude, had a rocket arm. So we threw the ball a lot. Had some very good receivers. Had a guy transfer from Minnesota, stuff like that. Some pretty good dudes. Zach Stout was the quarterback. His dad, Cliff Stout, was Terry Bradshaw's backup for
Oh, wow.
5 or 6 years. When Bradshaw retired, he became the starting quarterback, and they missed the playoffs for like the first time. I remember Zach telling us, he's like, yeah, apparently they got death threats and everything else from Pittsburgh. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Zach's younger brother was quarterback at Clemson with, I think it was Taj Boyd.
Oh, wow.
They were there at the same time. So Zach was very, very good. Rocket arm. Used to see him throw the ball, 75 yards into a net and stuff like that. It was crazy. But, with our next year, we were pretty good, undefeated. We play Ellsworth. Iowa Falls is what I was going to say. Play Ellsworth. We beat them by like 25 points week 9. So we win the league or conference, whatever it was. And then the next week we got to play them again. The way it was like that was our playoff game or something like that. So we had to play them. If we beat them, we're going to the national title game. We're playing, I think it's Blinn. I was pretty sure who it was.
What year?
2010. Might not have been. I
don't
can't
know.
remember who it was. I know Coffeyville, I'm pretty sure, was really good that year too.
Probably.
One of the schools in Kansas had like 40 linemen all went to Power 5, and I just remember thinking, I was like, yeah, I don't want to play those dudes. Like, they're going to be pretty good. Might have been Butler too. I don't know.
No, what 10?
It sounds about right as the year where like we were 1 and they were 2, and we played at Coffeyville. They talk about that game.
Was it like week 9?
It was
Might have
more,
been.
Maybe it's
12, we were really good.
Yep. Yeah, we play Ellsworth the next week and we lose. So that was great. Go undefeated.
Was that the end of your season?
No. So we go undefeated, and then we beat Ellsworth, and we play them again. We lose to them. I always said, I remember being at the time like, that's because the game started at noon. Should have started at 1 like it normally does. And I was like, yeah, that's just stupid. But we lose to them. We think the season's over. President Kinney, not McKinney, sorry, comes down and is like, hey, we got a bowl game. We're going to Utah. And so we went out there, played Snow College on top of the Mountains Bowl. We're down. We score first. We get down like 25 points. We come back, tie it up, and then we basically just ran out of gas. They were very good that year. But yeah, went from 5-5 to 9-2. Iowa Western's second year of football, we were ranked number 2, and they've been honestly pretty damn good since. So you guys know that. I don't got to tell you guys that.
Yeah, Iowa Western's legit.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, I know we've never beat them up there.
We used to. They finally have a pretty nice stadium. My first year, we played at a high school field. That was a shared field between 2 high schools. So
What school?
Abraham Lincoln and Thomas Jefferson. And so now they share it with Lewis Central. Yeah. And because we didn't have turf or anything, we had games where they put sand between the hashes because the grass was gone. It snowed and
I heard a crazy thing the other day about putting not sand. They would literally take bleach and paint the lines essentially, and the grass would just die, but it would turn yellow, so it looked like there was lines. I heard that the other day on some talk show radio.
Oh, that's
Why
incredible.
would they do that?
I had no idea.
Save money on paint.
You never have to paint more than once.
True, but
It's
it kills
true.
the grass.
See it now. Have somebody out there with Roundup just spraying lines.
That's what they do. That's what they have to do at the middle school, right there. You know how like for their hashes,
You talking like Emporia Middle School?
Emporia Middle School for their hashes on the grass fields.
Weed field. There's no grass on that field.
The hashes,
Trust me.
or the lines that would go across to mark the 5-10, yada yada yada, are like so short. It's like greens on a golf course, and then the next ones are like 4-inch tall grass.
Yeah.
Hey,
Sounds
we're
about
gonna get back to Tuttle. Little blast from the past from Emporia High. There's a kid that was around my age, would have been like around Swanson's age too.
Okay.
Really good
Yep.
in like little kid football. But I don't think he was as good when they got to high school.
Cody Campbell.
Whatever happened to Cody Campbell?
I think he went to do track in college, didn't he?
He blew his knee out in high
Yeah.
school, I think.
He was pretty damn good, like
I heard
coming
he
up, right?
Stupid fast too.
Yeah.
I've never.
I didn't. My mom gave me the option in like little league ball. You can either play little league ball or you can be the ball boy for the team, the high school team. So I did the ball boy stuff because I went to practice every day. All that, whatever. And I remember going up and watching my buddies play on Saturday mornings, and this dude was just a freak show, like just tearing people apart at age 9.
Yeah.
Like had a visor, like
Cody
just
Campbell.
thugging out.
Yeah, and he was good.
They had some.
Was he good in high school?
Yeah, I would say above average. I don't know if he.
What grade was he in?
13? 12?
He was like pretty much the only bright spot after Braxton, Jarrell, JL.
Oh, so he would have been like 15 or 16 then.
Wasn't 6. That would have been my first. He wasn't.
Yeah, and that was my freshman year. He was probably 13 or 14, probably when I was like in sixth grade.
Jarrell was 13 and JL Savage was 14, I want to say. Or was Jarrell and JL in the same class?
Same class, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
So he would have been, Cody would have been the same year as the kid who came here to play offensive line.
Garen Vanderveer.
Garen Vanderveer. His dad used to be the coach.
I didn't know. He came to Butler to play O-line?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He was huge.
Oh, yeah.
And then transferred back to Emporia State to play basketball, right?
Yeah, just kind of like came back.
Well, his dad was a coach. I'm pretty sure he could just do whatever.
Yeah.
So, what was I going to say? So your second year, you guys went 9-2, and you played Snow. I'm trying to think. It doesn't have it on here. The latest ours goes back as 2011 on our schedule.
Like we didn't exist.
But we played Trinity Valley
Makes me feel
in some bowl at Pitt, Citizens Bank Bowl.
Okay.
So, which used to be the national title. It's not anymore.
It kind of does it travel now to whoever's
No, it is permanent, and it is because now they've done. See, the travel game is the playoffs, so they have a 4-team playoff now.
That's right.
So they go to host sites for the semifinal game, and the finals game is in Little Rock, Arkansas, Memorial Stadium.
Yeah. That makes I did know that.
Which is a ginormous field.
Really?
Stadium, I should say.
Is that another school, or do they just have a?
It's just literally a city field.
Really?
Yeah.
Should have had it at Hummer. Play up there at old Hummer Sports Park.
Well, yeah, but then you give too much.
Yeah.
Like Little Rock is literally like the middle of all the junior colleges. If you think about it.
There's Arkansas JUCOs, aren't there?
Not anymore.
Really? Okay.
There are JUCOs in Arkansas,
Yeah,
but not with
no
football. Arkansas Baptist used to be a junior college. Not anymore. They're an NAIA school now.
Oh, okay.
They went way off the deep end of having any type of athletes.
Damn.
I'm trying to think. So who all were the junior college you guys played up north?
So we played Iowa Central, obviously. We would have played Nyack.
Speaking of that, Iowa Central. Going back to what you were talking about, why Iowa Western over Iowa Central? Just because they weren't in on you as early, or?
No, I mean I think they were probably just as interested. I probably didn't give them as much time or thought.
It would technically be closer to home, correct?
It would be, yeah.
Okay.
So Fort Dodge is only about an hour and a half from where I grew up. So Iowa Western, granted, it's kind of a wash. It's like 2.5 hours.
Oh, okay, okay. I'm thinking it's directly north of Iowa Central, but maybe not, I guess. My geography is not great up there.
So, yes, I honestly, Nyack actually offered the most money. But then I remember going, and kudos to my mom. She's like, you need to go see Iowa Western. She's like, I think you'd enjoy it. Like,
good thing you did.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember going through there and talking to some of their coaches, and they're like, so are any other junior colleges interested? And I was like, well, Nyack, Iowa Central. And they're like, yeah, I would avoid Nyack at all costs. So, like, we left there. And, because that's where Strohmeyer was.
Okay.
And they're like, that probably won't be much of a program anymore. And
Sure.
come to find out, in the matter of a few months, they closed up shop. Iowa Western it just felt right. I mean, it felt like, it's new. I think that gave everybody a shot. It almost felt like everybody had a level playing field, which, I mean, they did. Obviously, I didn't quite understand a lot of junior college then. But they had some, we had some very good dudes even the year that we played our first season.
Right.
They had 4 or 5 guys go to Division I schools. A couple offensive linemen went FCS. But I, just kind of thought, yeah, great picture. The year before that, I tried to get a handlebar mustache, and only like one of the sides stayed up. It's a really bad picture.
Awesome.
I just thought Iowa Western had nice new stuff. It was a fresh start. I really liked Coach Woods when I talked to him, my line coach. Really liked Coach Strohmeyer from the get-go. So
now, did they have all the nice stuff they have now then?
No.
Not quite?
So their football offices and stuff, that whole building wasn't
Brand
there.
new.
Yeah. Our locker room was actually it was like a utility building in the center of campus. Our lockers were imagine a high school metal locker. It was just like that, just a little bigger. But at the time we're like, yeah, this is awesome. This is great.
This is it.
Yeah, your own locker with your name on it.
Yeah, that's right. I remember seeing our jerseys, and I was like, oh, stitched on Nike jerseys, like that's awesome. Like that, I'm in. The dumb things you think about, but that's right. And I remember that day, I talked to him, and I was all in, and I guess the rest was history from there. So,
Met Keaton known him for like a month now, and I mean I've told stories, but tell me this isn't the most Keaton picture you've ever seen.
here we go.
That's awesome.
Dude, great story. Yeah. That was homecoming my senior year. Obviously, you can tell I was a phenomenal athlete. And for those of you who can't see me, there's a little sarcasm going around here. My buddy Matt plays for he's in the Rockies organization right now. We ran 3-4, and he was a stand-up guy. I was in a stance because I couldn't get off the ball. That game we played. It's like Galva Holstein, something else. There's like 5 schools involved now. Matt was a hell of a football player. I mean, that dude hit like a truck. I mean, he really did. I remember Matt played varsity from basically freshman year on, and we didn't. But I remember doing scout team, and Matt would like basically pick on us. And I used to hate the dude during practice because I couldn't touch him. He was too fast, and he would just roll around and just smoke everybody. And you're like, this is terrible. But he did that in games too. So he'd come off the edge and just kill these quarterbacks. And this kid drops back to throw the ball, and Matt smokes him, and I see the ball up in the air, and I was like, oh, look, like Friday night, or not Friday Night Live.
Catch it.
Yeah, a ball.
Look what I found.
And it just, right place, right time, get hit. I start just taking off. I get down to the 1 yard line, and I had a couple guys on me and fell down, and I came off the sideline, couldn't breathe. I remember we did run a play before I got off the field. We ran one play and scored. And I remember just thinking, like, I'm going to black out. Like, I've never felt this way before, ever. Like, good thing I was never a back because, Jesus, talk about being in bad shape. So what he's trying to say is he wasn't in the right frame of mind when that picture was taken.
Yeah. It's still the most Keaton Tuttle photo I've ever seen.
If you could have had oxygen tanks on sidelines, I would have needed one.
Six, but
I got to pick like 29 yards. That's what it was.
Good Lord.
So close, but yet so far away. Yep.
Well,
we do remember you having a pick in high school.
I did have a pick in high school.
Almost all the way.
This is the most opposite Keaton Tuttle picture, but this is like Emporia mob.
That was in the newspaper when they did it.
It's kind of thick, though. It's smooth. I like him, though.
Yep.
This is not Keaton Tuttle. I don't care what Google
that was my huddle picture in college.
Okay.
That's why it's there. All right, Tuttle, I know you've listened to the show before. We have this thing we called that we do at the end of most shows. We call buttered popcorn.
Oh, here we go.
What's a show you've been watching here on Netflix here lately?
Seinfeld.
Whoa.
Oh wow.
Okay, what is it?
What is a
newer show?
Yeah.
Newer show.
Or we
Like it's basically we say the shows so maybe the others might want to get into the shows.
See, I actually got this one.
Everybody knows Seinfeld.
Yeah, I got this one from Riley and Brent, the Peaky Blinders.
Oh yeah.
show all the time.
Yeah,
Oh damn, Peaky Blinders.
that's right. It was one of my favorites. I haven't watched a lot of new ones. I really liked. I can't think of it. The coach from Friday Night Lights was a cop in one.
Oh, King of Marestown.
No, I haven't watched that yet.
That's a good one. Bloodline.
Bloodline, loved it, and then it just ended horribly.
He's a sheriff in the Florida Keys, and
Kills his brother.
he's got him. And you it's known that he kills his brother because it's one of those. You have flashbacks of it, and it's him, his sister. They have another brother, and they have also a fourth brother. The fourth brother guy kind of like comes from out of nowhere.
Black sheep of the family.
Yep, doesn't hang out with anybody in the family. Kind of does his own thing. Randomly, restaurant burns down. Comes back home. The parents own a bed and breakfast. That's what they've done their whole life. With a house that's like kind of on the shores, right there on the beach, and pretty much they just take him, and they go. And it's about how they think that this brother's coming back to mess things up for him, and the sheriff guy pretty much tries to overprotect the family. And like I said in episode 1, I think you find out, and like it's well known that like
he kills his brother because he like thinks in a way that's the right thing to do, and it's kind of like about how he has to cover it up and
Because
everything.
doesn't the brother kill the dad too?
No, him coming home stressed the dad
Yeah,
out, so
that's
he's
right.
paddleboarding and he has a heart attack out there on the ocean, and the brother gets blamed for that.
Yeah.
He's like, "How can you say I get blamed for this?" And it's pretty much it was honestly, we watched season 1 of Stranger Things before season 2 came out, or maybe watched season 2. Me and Papa Scooch watched Bloodline, and then watched like Sons of Anarchy, and then he watched
SOA. That
Were you an
I was
SOA
in
fan?
college. I watched
I
all
liked
those.
it. I was maybe
it
a
too.
sophomore when I was
Little. But
I would have been at Hutch at the time I was watching it. Netflix.
it's good. It's just like your normal. I don't know, with shows like that. Here's why I think it's different. And I've never sat down and really watched and dissected this show, but here's why I think Breaking Bad differs from stuff like that. It very easily, Breaking Bad could have turned into a shoot 'em up every single episode type show, but like we talked with Outer Banks, when people don't know where to go with the writing, they throw shit at a wall and see what sticks. You know what I mean? Like,
I agree.
okay.
Yellowstone.
No. Yes. The newer seasons of Yellowstone, I've heard, have been falling off a little bit.
I thought the first 3 were phenomenal. I really did.
Yeah,
and then
my
you
parents
watch.
were not fans of this last one.
No,
I didn't like
It's just it's different, and you can tell.
it's like
You
they
know?
run out of.
they
Well, they did. I mean, that's
do. Sometimes only a
I will
3
say
is
though,
fine.
1926. I loved that.
1923.
23. Yeah, sorry. That was probably my favorite one so far.
Yeah,
And
I haven't
I'm
seen
a.
any of them.
No, I wanted to say Clint Eastwood. It's not Clint Eastwood. Can't ever think of his name. Harrison Ford.
Harrison, yeah.
Big Harrison Ford fan.
See, and that's where I'm at with Manifest. Mm-hmm. We just finished season 1 last night. Where else are they? There's 6 freaking aren't there 6 seasons? I think.
I don't know. But it's like, where's this going to go?
New season, the final season's coming out June 2nd, and I'm already to the point where I'm like, where are we going next?
Yeah. Like,
Because I just don't like. There's only so much shit that can happen. But obviously, we've just figured out that if you guys watch Manifest. So basically, how it goes is the plane obviously is gone for 5.5 years, and the plane lands mysteriously. It shows back up on radar, and they're like, "Whoa, where the hell does this plane come from?" Da 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 da. Well, it lands, and there's like a huge investigation. Well, everybody on the plane, they find out through a series of investigations by not only the cops but the people who were on the plane that telepathically everybody is practically connected. Some people are greater dangers than others. Some people are trying to help the cause of figuring out why they're connected. Some people are like trying to go against everything. But now they've found out that it's not just the people on the plane. There are other people within the world that are connected. And they have these things called the callings that they go help other people. And it's led them to find that like there's a guy who drove off. He was in a police chase and drove off the side of basically a barge that went into the ocean. And they pull the vehicle out. Get this, it's flight 828 is what flight it was, and they pull him out 82 hours and 8 minutes after he went in. So 828 again. So there's pull him out and he's alive. So it's like leaving and coming back alive. But the thing that we've just learned is the fact that they die after they've been alive for the exact amount of time they've been dead.
Woof.
So old boy that was in the deal that drove off died 82 hours and 8 minutes after he came back. After they pulled him out of the ocean.
I might have to start watching.
so they need to hurry up because they only have 5.
So they only have 5.5 years to do whatever they're gonna do, or figure out what's happening is happening. If that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is, like, one of them is a NYPD that was on the plane, and another one is like a freaking like research doctor. So they're like all their occupations go hand in hand.
Wow. Speaking of planes, like some of the Netflix like documentaries they make, I watched the one on
370.
Yes.
I haven't watched it
I'm not a
yet.
big conspiracy guy, but and some of it gets a little weird, but that one was
where it just disappeared.
That Mitchell,
Isn't the Malaysian?
Yeah. It's. I remember when that happened. And
Oh, me too.
It's crazy.
Like 2016,
Something like that, yeah. Because there's people who think like the pilot did it, and there's people who think the Russians shot him down, and it's crazy.
Wow.
People think there was like lithium batteries that made the plane explode, and it's just
The thing is like
what? No way.
the thing about
It's hilarious. Funny.
the thing about it is like they haven't found any remains. So
Yeah.
like,
And then like, other than the one guy who's like allegedly attached to the Russian, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna look for stuff, and then he found like parts of the plane, and people are like, how can you just say
I'm gonna look
I'm
for
gonna go
stuff.
here and then he finds stuff? Like it's
Like, if you drop me in Russia, there's so many places in Russia I wouldn't want to go, but the last place
Siberia. Let's go.
like some of these shows make you think about like what really goes on at Area 51, what really goes on at these like
Yeah.
disclosed locations. Like,
There's stuff in this world, and I've thought this for a long time. Like I don't want to know,
oh, absolutely.
and I know there's probably people within our government and our world that know things that we don't want to know
Absolutely.
every day.
That's why they just want to pull their hair out. The other one that you, and I don't know if you may have watched it before, Designated Survivor.
I haven't seen that.
Oh man, it's a good
Is
one.
that what's that's about the?
So the Capitol blows up,
Yeah.
and the only person that survives is like Speaker of the House or something.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I don't remember what his
Same
role
guy who
was.
in 24. Did you ever watch
Correct,
24?
correct,
Yeah.
correct,
Keeper
correct.
Sutherland.
Yeah,
Keeper
thank
Sutherland,
you.
yes.
His dad was a great actor too.
But he becomes president and doesn't know what the hell is going on. Doesn't know how to run shit.
pretty much kind of finished Night Agent. Pretty good. Took me a while to get into her a little bit. It's pretty intertwined and connected. I call those one-hitter quitters. Here's why. Because they're like, Netflix just, boom, drops them. I know they're coming out with a season 2, but it takes it by storm for a week and then just kind of disappears on Netflix, like gets lost. And
Yeah.
it's not one that you...
But if Netflix didn't have those, Netflix wouldn't be Netflix.
Yeah, exactly, and it's not one of those where like you're watching it, you're like, okay, this is one they could maybe do another season. But for
Here's the
most
thing, though.
part,
Netflix is. Here's where I think Netflix has to go. They're running out of shit that they can just make up. They're gonna have to do some type of live television.
they have to either do
I'm
that.
surprised they haven't.
No, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Get them in like YouTube TV, and you'll be paying $200 a month, and you'll have everything you ever want.
It was
Essentially, yeah.
when we got it when I was a freshman or a sophomore, maybe so in 16, 17.
Hold on, pause. Do you remember the
Netflix
times at
was it.
Netflix where there was no live streaming and you got DVDs in the mail?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I don't.
Just once. And then,
We never did Netflix. We never subscribed to Netflix just because Redbox was essentially the same
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
We just
yeah.
did that. Just drop it back off by McDonald's the next day.
but
Another Walgreens.
We had Hy-Vee. That's where ours was. We had one.
Hy-Vee and the old Piggly Wiggly.
Got to give my sister a shout out. She's a Hy-Vee. I call her a bigwig. People don't. She would disagree, but yeah, she's a.
Hy-Vee, huh?
I think she is.
Dude,
She was corporate for a while, and then she's like, "Yeah, I'm not corporate anymore." So I call her a
Bigwig.
a government hired contractor is what I call her for Hy-Vee now. But
Hy-Vee is big in north central Missouri where my grandparents are from. They got the
best grocery stores around.
humongous cat, and there's one in Topeka as well.
Yep.
Got this
Kansas City.
humongous catalog from them, and one of the deals in the back of the catalog was, you buy a freezer for $189, but they give you the coupons to a bunch of freezer food worth $189. So you basically buy a freezer and get $400 worth of shit. Like you get the freezer that's basically $200, plus you get $200 worth of free food to put in the freezer.
sold.
These catalog stuff. And I was like, dude, what is going on?
Yeah.
And like some of the best college meals I ever had were off those coupons. Just literally like bag pasta stuff that you just dump in the deal and just heat it up and she's ready to roll. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, I didn't even know about like Dillon's and stuff till I came to Kansas.
Well, Dillon's is straight Kansas.
Okay, that makes sense. 'Cause we had
Originated in
Hy-Vee
Hutchinson,
Fairway.
Kansas.
Really, I like it. I'm a Dylan's fan. Dylan's is good.
I am too. We had, like I said, we had Hy-Vee and Fairway.
Well, I say originated, but actually it's a branch off Kroger.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So
That's like, speaking of Hy-Vee, that's like their
direct competitor, yeah.
That's right.
Direction.
So
Well, Keaton, I hope you had a blast, man.
Absolutely. First time.
yeah,
First
hey, after the season this year, we'll have to get you back on
Hey,
and see how
I'm in.
get
I'm
an update.
in. Yeah, for sure. It'll be. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a challenge, but I think the whole get to just coach football every day. I think it's going to be awesome. I'm pretty excited.
It's fun, but there are things that go along with it.
Oh,
They're
I'm
like,
sure.
okay, I can do this today.
Yep.
But no, I'm excited for you. That'll be awesome, and at a great program too.
Yeah,
And
for
you'll
sure.
get that big job for sure,
Huge jobs.
without a doubt.
So, well, folks, appreciate y'all tuning in. Just want to remind you that we are brought to you by BW Engraving and Lathing
Woodworking.
Systems,
And woodworking.
whatever it's called.
Nice.
I just rejected Scoocher,
You missed.
and he missed. Anyway, so we appreciate y'all. We'll see you again next week. And Keaton Tuttle's going to sign us off.
What? No way.
Appreciate y'all. Later.